Very interesting article here titled Outposts of the U.S. Surveillance Empire, Denmark and Beyond, and Covert Action magazine by Rod Rinauer. I'll link it down below. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It'll be a bit of a long video, but it's quite interesting, disturbing, but not, frankly, very surprising. Data acquired by the NSA has been used to convince the Danish government to buy fighter jets from Lockheed Martin. Denmark's military allows the United States National Security Agency, the NSA, to spy on the nation's finance minister, foreign minister, private weapons company Terma, the entire Danish population, and Denmark's closest neighbors, Sweden, Norway, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. So, looks like more or less Denmark's own military and their government is basically in the pocket of the NSA and the U.S. empire and is very ready and willing to do the bidding of them, which, I mean, just kind of goes to show that these so-called social democracies, when push comes to shove, they're willing to be the lapdog of the U.S. empire and the national security state. I mean, you don't hear about anything like this happening in countries that actually oppose U.S. empire, and their governments are demonized as a result, and the U.S. empire tries to overthrow them, like, say, Venezuela, or Bolivia, or Cuba, or Iran, or Syria, or North Korea, etc. But the so-called social democracies, Denmark in this case, again, completely ready and willing to do the bidding of the U.S. empire. It's disgusting and needs to be called out. Information that the NSA acquired with the aid of Denmark's Defense Intelligence Service, FE, under the command of the Defense Department, was used to convince the government to buy Lockheed Martin's Joint Strike Fighter F-35 capable of carrying nuclear weapons, albeit Denmark forbids the possession of nuclear weapons on its territory. So why would they need that? They're not supposed to have nuclear weapons on their territory. Why the fuck would they need F-35s? Such favoritism for both the U.S. government and the country's private weapons industry knocked out European competition from the Eurofighter GmbH Typhoon and Sweden's Saab Gripen fighter. Boeing's Super Hornet was also a competitor. 2016, the government decided to buy 27 F-35s to replace F-16s. The price today is around $10 billion, which is double the country's annual defense budget. After years of technical problems, the first F-35 for Denmark is about to reach the assembly line in Fort Worth, Texas. There's the F-16 flying over Copenhagen. The Danish government ignored its own national audit agency, which had identified serious shortcomings in the decision-making process and calculations used as the basis for selecting the aircraft. So again, it had nothing to do with what actually the country needed and everything to do with propping up, these U.S. companies connected to the military-industrial complex and to keep, the U.S. empire and security state happy. So much for social democracy when you're just a bootlicker for the U.S. empire. I mean, this is disgusting, Denmark. Get your shit together. FE is comparable to the U.S.'s CIA. It is unknown if FE has informed its own government leaders of all its spying for NSA/CIA and for private concerns. No member of the government, parliament, military, or the civilian-led Danish Intelligence Oversight Committee will comment. So either they don't care or they're in complete support of this. Either way, that's quite the indictment, wouldn't you say? DR, Denmark's public service broadcaster and online medium, recently reported these developments based on revelations that one or more intelligence whistleblowers provided. No major English media have covered this most serious revelation of extensive spying in Denmark's history, at least not that I could find in 2 hours of searching. Danish journalists could be imprisoned in U.S. for whistleblower revelations. So these whistleblowers who exposed all this massive illegal spying going on people in Denmark, people within the Denmark government, and then around its neighbors, they could be prosecuted for that. Ironically, Denmark's media, both DR and newspapers, have not covered the extradition trial of Australian Julian Assange in England. The US government had long denied that Assange is a publisher, but changed course mid-trial. It now contends that he is a publisher and thereby asserted that any journalist anywhere in the world can be prosecuted in the US for reporting national security secrets. So this is what they're opening themselves up to by, DR foreign news editor Niels Cavalli answered my complaint of suppression of this most important news, writing that DR's decision on what to cover is based on importance is the most important criteria. I would think covering the Julian Assange trial, which huge assault on freedom of press, freedom of speech. I mean, for fuck's sake, Julian Assange is not even a U.S. citizen, and the stuff that him and WikiLeaks exposed were just crimes of the U.S. empire, and that's why they are going after him. It's disgusting. Any news outlet who doesn't cover what's going on to Julian Assange and how he's being tortured for standing up to the U.S. empire and exposing war crimes like that collateral murder video happened in Iraq, they have no journalistic integrity whatsoever. Extraditing a journalist publisher to the U.S., which could imprison Assange for 175 years for 17 alleged violations of the Espionage Act, is apparently not important enough, right? Like, what is more important than that, literally? By not covering this not important trial, DR may not realize that its reporters and editors can be prosecuted for violating the 1917 Espionage Act for revealing NSA, FE. Again, FE is the kind of Danish equivalent of the NSA or CIA in Denmark. National security secrets. Yes, free Assange, pardon Assange. He is a legit hero for what he did and the price he has paid. There's no other way to describe it. 1961, the U.S. Congress removed language that restricted the Act's application to U.S. territory and its inhabitants. Now, U.S. law applies to every human being in the world, including journalists. If NSA, CIA get angry enough, they could order whatever president is in office to demand that Denmark extradite bad guy journalists for letting the public know of its war crimes. We can be certain that whichever political party is in office in Denmark, it'll obey the orders while saluting. Jesus Christ. So much for this, utopia that, often gets kind of propped up in the West about these Scandinavian countries, when they're lapdogs of the U.S. empire. It's disgusting. Motives for revealing war crimes are not allowed as a defense in U.S. courts. Like, that is fucking preposterous. That is a warning to all humans that the U.S. does not abide by basic demographic rights of free press and freedom of speech. Totally don't. Spoke on the telephone DR editor Cavalli about the U.S. government threat. He replied, "I was not aware of that. This sounds interesting. Send me your article. I will inform our journal." How out of touch are you that you don't know that? I mean, again, but this is the same person who said wasn't important enough to cover Julian Assange. So of course he doesn't know about, Jesus Christ. NSA and FE signed an agreement in 2008 that enables NSA to tap huge amounts of data sourced from Danish fiber optic communication cables passing through Denmark. This metadata is stored by the Danish Defense Intelligence Service in a center built with NSA guidance and technical assistance on the small Danish island, a Sandergaard, to which NSA has access. Jesus. Sandergaard is one of 3 Danish military intelligence listening posts which trawls through and analyzes global internet data seeking information, for example, on what Terma, Denmark's largest weapon firm, has. This is clearly an intrusion on capitalist basic principle and need for free market competition. Jesus. And then look what happens to whistleblowers in Denmark. Frankly, not a whole lot different than what happens here in the U.S. when people try to expose the crimes and misdeeds of the U.S. empire and security state. Military whistleblower first reported on illegal espionage to the military leadership in 2015. His reports to superiors were ignored. 4 years later, he revealed illegal spying to the Danish Intelligence Oversight Committee. The undermanned 5-person civilian oversight committee has only 8 employees and a pauper's budget of $1.3 million. Has no power to interrogate or even to see secret documents the FE which it wishes to hide. Defense Intelligence Service budget is $160 million. Wow. But just think about how small that is still compared to the U.S. How the funds are used is secret. No oversight committee, parliamentary or civilian, knows how the money is used, nor can they determine its usage. Wow. Those two, let's see. Headache for Denmark. USA used Danish access to spy against their neighbor. Subhead: It is a real losing cause to set foot against Denmark's most important partner in the intelligence world. Experts. Oh Jesus, they gave themselves away there. Look, those two juxtaposing headlines show perhaps an unwittingly a deep dilemma for Danes. Do they want sovereignty or rather to be a lackey for Big Daddy? Big Daddy, obviously, the U.S. empire security state. Without having taken a poll, my guess is that 9 out of 10 would choose the latter. I mean, pretty interesting. So, again, huge, massive amount of spying going on. Spying happening on Danish citizens as well as their government. And that's all happening with the full support of the U.S. empire, the U.S. security state, and the powers that be in Denmark. Even people in the media seem to be completely okay with that. And then there's the war minister. Let's see. So it just seems like, yes, just a lot of corruption, kind of same stuff that's going on here in the U.S., just maybe to a lesser degree, just because, the U.S. security state and empire is just so massive in its scale of destruction and monstrosities. Denmark is a special helping hand in aiding the U.S. in its global spying with the purpose of dominating the world. That is what globalization is all about. When Snowden's revelations were in the news, Denmark's first woman prime minister was another social democrat, FEdeal Schmid. Some members of parliament were asking if NSA was also spying in Denmark. She waved it off. Pour a little cold water in the blood. So she said, no, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. I'm going to go pal around and take pictures with Obama and UK Prime Minister David Cameron at Nelson Mandela's funeral. Nothing to worry about. It's all right. It's all right. Jesus. But NSA and the CIA have taken the actual national security intention far beyond self-defense with the aim of spying upon the entire world in order to influence foreign governments and private business decision-making actions. Again, it goes on for a while, and I probably shared enough to get the idea, but I mean, again, these so-called social democracies in, Europe aren't actually these, bastions for freedom of speech, freedom of the press, when they're doing the bidding of the U.S. empire and allowing with help from the NSA to spy on the entire population of Denmark, along with people in government and along with the neighbors. I mean, Sweden, Norway, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. This is a supposed social democratic government country allowing this to happen. There's nothing socialist or democratic about any of that shit. It's fucked up. It needs to be called out as such. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. Peace. Much love. All power to the people.